The notification chimed at exactly 11:47 p.m. on my 39th birthday. A video message from an unknown number, no text attached. I should have deleted it immediately, but curiosity has always been my weakness. I'm Wilder Sornel, and I work in IT security for mid-sized corporations around Minneapolis. My job involves finding vulnerabilities before other people exploit them. I wish I'd applied that same diligence to my marriage. The video started innocently enough. Our bedroom, afternoon light streaming through the blinds I'd installed last summer. Then Zoya appeared on screen with Vikram Doshi, her first boyfriend from college. The man she'd claimed was ancient history when we met 15 years ago. At the end of the recording, my 16-year-old daughter Mira walked into frame and hugged Vikram. "I wish you were my father instead," she said, clear as daylight. I saved the file immediately, then checked the metadata. Recorded 3 days ago on Zoya's phone, uploaded to her cloud account. Amateur mistake. In my line of work, digital footprints are everything. My wife Zoya runs a high-end real estate business with her partner Tasha. She's the type who posts inspirational quotes about authentic living while orchestrating elaborate deceptions. The irony wasn't lost on me. I spent the next hour copying everything to multiple locations, encrypted drives, secure cloud storage, backup servers I maintain for work. Then I changed every password on every account we shared. Banking, streaming services, home security system, everything. The divorce papers took until 3 a.m. to draft properly. I cited adultery and parental alienation, attached timestamp screenshots from the video, and uploaded everything to my attorney's secure portal. Gerald Hoffman had handled my business contracts for years. Now he'd handle my personal demolition. At dawn, I sent the original video to our family group chat with a simple message. Filing for divorce at 9 a.m., case details attached. The responses came immediately. Zoya's parents demanding explanations, her brother Oleg threatening legal action, my own parents expressing shock and support. I forwarded Gerald's receipt and the case number to everyone, then muted the chat. Zoya called from a blocked number 20 minutes later. "You manipulative piece of garbage," she screamed before I could speak. "Delete that video right now or I'll destroy you in court. I'll claim you doctored it, that you're unstable. Mira will testify that you've been abusive." I recorded the entire conversation on my phone's backup app. The metadata doesn't lie, Zoya. Neither do the cloud timestamps. Your phone, your account, your bedroom performance. You think you're so smart with your computer tricks. I know people, Wilder. Judges, social workers, police officers. They'll believe me over some bitter tech nerd who spies on his family. "Looking forward to it," I said, then hung up. I forwarded her voicemail threats to Gerald and requested an emergency custody hearing. The court granted a temporary restraining order by noon, requiring Zoya to stay away from our shared residence until the preliminary hearing. I had the locks rekeyed that afternoon. The locksmith, a guy named Pete who'd worked on our house before, shook his head sympathetically. "Divorce is rough, man, but you seem like you've got your head on straight." If only he knew what I was planning. My best friend, Paul Martinez, runs a small private investigation business downtown. We've known each other since college, where he studied criminal justice while I learned to hack systems for fun. He arrived at my house that evening with Chinese takeout and a bottle of whiskey. "So you're really doing this," he said, settling into my kitchen chair. "Full nuclear option." "She made it nuclear when she involved Mira," I replied. "Turning my daughter against me while screwing her ex in my bed? That's not just adultery, Paul. That's psychological warfare." Paul nodded, opening his laptop. "I've already started background checks on Vikram and Tasha. Want to know what I found?" Everything. Vikram owns a boutique fitness center called Elevation Gym. Caters to wealthy suburbanites who want to feel edgy. He's been sued twice for inappropriate conduct with female clients. Both cases settled out of court with non-disclosure agreements. Interesting. What about Tasha? Real estate license has been flagged twice for ethics violations. Nothing major, but she cuts corners. Also, she's been having her own affair with a married contractor named Dave Kellerman. His wife doesn't know. I smiled for the first time in days. Everyone's got secrets. That's what makes them vulnerable, Paul agreed. What's your play here, Wilder? Because I know you, and you don't do anything halfway. I pulled up my laptop and showed him a spreadsheet I'd been building. Names, relationships, pressure points, potential leverage. Zoya wants to play dirty? I'm going to show her what dirty actually looks like. The next morning brought my first taste of Zoya's counterattack. 2 police officers appeared at my door, responding to a domestic disturbance call. According to their report, an anonymous caller claimed I was making threats and acting erratically. Fortunately, my home security system recorded everything. The officers reviewed footage showing me alone in my office all evening, working on my laptop. They left with apologies and a warning that false police reports are illegal. I saved their incident report and added it to my growing evidence file. Zoya's parents called that afternoon. Elena and Boris Petrov immigrated from Ukraine 30 years ago and built a successful catering business. They'd always treated me like a son, but family loyalty runs deep in their culture. Wilder, we need to talk, Elena said when I answered. This situation with Zoya, it's very complicated. Not complicated at all, I replied. Your daughter committed adultery and turned my child against me. The video evidence is crystal clear. But divorce, it's so final. Maybe counseling, maybe forgiveness. Elena, with respect, your daughter called me 2 hours after receiving the video. She didn't apologize or ask for forgiveness. She threatened to lie in court and claim I'm abusive. That tells me everything about her character. Boris took the phone. You're destroying the family, Wilder. Mira needs both parents. Mira needs honest parents. I'm still here. Zoya chose to prioritize her ex-boyfriend over her daughter's well-being. I ended the call and immediately texted Gerald to expect hostile witnesses from Zoya's family. The real war began when Zoya and Tasha launched their reputation campaign. I discovered this through my neighbor Jennifer Walsh, who stopped by with a concerned expression and a casserole dish. Wilder, I hope you don't mind me asking, but is everything okay? Zoya mentioned you've been under a lot of stress lately, and some of the neighbors are worried. What exactly did she say? Jennifer looked uncomfortable. Just that you've been acting differently. More isolated, maybe drinking too much. She seemed really concerned about Mira's safety. I thanked Jennifer for her concern and assured her I was fine. Then I called Paul. They're spreading rumors, I told him, painting me as unstable and potentially dangerous. We need to get ahead of this. Already on it, Paul said. I've been monitoring Zoya's social media and Tasha's. They're being careful not to post anything directly, but they're having lots of concerned friend conversations in public places, coffee shops, school pickup, gym classes. Can you document any of it? Better. I can prove it's coordinated. They've been texting each other strategy sessions. Tasha sent Zoya a message yesterday that said, "Remember, concerned wife, not angry ex. Play up the worry angle." How did you get their text messages? Paul grinned. Let's just say Tasha's phone security is about as solid as her ethics. The preliminary custody hearing was scheduled for the following Monday. Gerald warned me that Zoya would likely request supervised visitation restrictions, claiming I posed a threat to Mira's emotional well-being. She's building a narrative, he explained during our prep session. Controlling husband, sudden personality change, potential for escalation. It's textbook divorce strategy for someone caught in adultery. What's our counter-narrative? Faithful husband discovers systematic betrayal, responds with appropriate legal action. We have the video, the metadata, her threatening phone calls, and now evidence of a coordinated smear campaign. Plus, no history of domestic violence, substance abuse, or erratic behavior. What about Mira's statement in the video? Gerald's expression darkened. That's parental alienation, and it's serious. If we can prove Zoya encouraged or coached those comments, it strengthens our custody position significantly. I spent the weekend preparing for psychological warfare. Zoya had underestimated my resources and overestimated her own cleverness. She was about to learn the difference between playing games and playing for keeps. Sunday evening, I received a text from Mira. "Dad, Mom says you're trying to hurt our family. Why can't you just forgive her and come home?" I stared at that message for 10 minutes before responding. "I love you, Mira. This situation is complicated, but I promise you'll understand everything soon. Your mom made choices that hurt our family, not me." Her reply came immediately. "But she says you're being mean and trying to take me away from her." "I'm not taking you away from anyone. I'm protecting both of us from lies and manipulation. Trust me, sweetheart. Everything will make sense soon." She didn't respond after that. Monday morning arrived gray and cold, typical October weather in Minneapolis. I wore my best suit and arrived at the courthouse 30 minutes early. Gerald met me in the hallway with coffee and final instructions. "Remember, you're the calm, rational parent here. Don't react to anything Zoya says or does. We're presenting facts, not emotions." Zoya arrived with her attorney, a sharp-dressed woman named Patricia Vance, who specialized in high-conflict divorces. She'd clearly coached Zoya on appearance, conservative dress, minimal makeup, worried expression. The hearing lasted 2 hours. Patricia painted me as a controlling spouse who'd become vindictive after discovering his wife's mistake. She requested supervised visitation and a psychological evaluation, claiming my behavior had become increasingly erratic and concerning. Gerald systematically dismantled their narrative. He presented the video evidence, the metadata analysis, recordings of Zoya's threatening phone calls, and documentation of her smear campaign. Then he played his ace card, text messages between Zoya and Tasha, planning their concerned wife strategy. Judge Morrison reviewed everything carefully before issuing his ruling. Temporary custody would remain joint, with Mira staying primarily at my residence since Zoya had moved out. No supervised visitation required, but both parents were ordered to attend mediation before the final hearing. Zoya's face went pale when the judge mentioned the text messages. She'd assumed her private communications were actually private. Outside the courthouse, Patricia pulled Gerald aside while Zoya made angry phone calls. I couldn't hear the conversation, but Gerald's expression suggested good news. "What did she want?" I asked when he returned. "Settlement discussion. They're realizing their position isn't as strong as they thought. Zoya's attorney is smart enough to see where this is heading." "And where is it heading?" Gerald smiled grimly. "Toward a very expensive lesson in consequences." That afternoon, I picked up Mira from school for the first time since the separation. She got in my car silently, staring at her phone instead of making conversation. "How was your day?" I asked. "Fine. Want to grab dinner somewhere? Your choice." She shrugged. "I guess." We ended up at her favorite restaurant, a family-owned Italian place where she'd been ordering the same chicken parmesan since she was 8. Halfway through the meal, she finally looked up from her phone. "Mom says you recorded her private conversations." "I recorded threatening voicemails she left on my phone. That's different from private conversations." "She says you're trying to make her look bad in court." I put down my fork and looked directly at her. "Mira, I want you to think about something. In that video your mother made, you said you wished Vikram was your father instead of me. Do you remember saying that?" Her cheeks flushed. "That was just... I was upset about something. It didn't mean anything." "What were you upset about?" "I don't remember. School stuff, probably." "And Vikram was there to comfort you?" "He's nice to me. He listens and doesn't lecture like you do." I nodded slowly. "How long has Vikram been coming to our house?" Mira shifted uncomfortably. "I don't know. A few months, maybe." "Did your mother ask you to keep it secret from me?" "She said you wouldn't understand because you're jealous of her happiness." The pieces clicked into place. Systematic alienation, coached responses, emotional manipulation. Zoya hadn't just committed adultery, she'd weaponized our daughter against me. Mira, I need you to understand something very important. Your mother and I are getting divorced because she chose to have a relationship with another man while we were married. That's called adultery, and it's a betrayal of our family. I'm not trying to hurt her or take you away from her. I'm trying to protect both of us from more lies. Tears started forming in her eyes. But she said you were the one lying. I have video evidence, sweetheart. I have phone recordings and text messages. I don't need to lie because I have proof. We finished dinner in silence. During the drive home, Mira asked quietly, "Are you really going to make me choose between you and Mom?" "No," I replied. "Your mother already made that choice for all of us." The next morning brought my first direct confrontation with Vikram. I'd decided to visit Elevation Gym during peak hours, when maximum witnesses would be present. Paul's research had revealed Vikram's schedule. He taught a functional fitness class every Tuesday at 10 a.m. The gym occupied a converted warehouse in an upscale shopping district, exposed brick walls, industrial lighting, and motivational quotes painted in trendy fonts. Exactly the kind of place where wealthy suburbanites paid premium prices to feel authentic. I found Vikram leading a group of middle-aged women through kettlebell exercises. He looked exactly like his social media photos: tall, lean, carefully groomed beard, expensive workout clothes. The type of man who took selfies at the gym and posted inspirational quotes about living your best life. I waited until his class ended, then approached while he was cleaning equipment. "Vikram Doshi?" He looked up with the practiced smile of someone accustomed to being recognized. "That's me. Are you interested in training? I have some openings in my schedule." "I'm Wilder Sornel, Zoya's husband." His smile vanished immediately. "Oh, right. Look, man, I think there's been some misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding. I have video evidence of you in my bed with my wife, plus recordings of my daughter saying she wishes you were her father. Pretty clear situation." Several gym members had stopped their workouts to listen. Vikram glanced around nervously, realizing our conversation was becoming public entertainment. "Maybe we should discuss this privately," he said. "Why? You weren't concerned about privacy when you were screwing my wife in my house, or when you were coaching my daughter to reject me." "I never coached anyone to do anything. Mira said those things on her own. After months of you playing substitute daddy while I was working to support my family. Tell me, Vikram, what exactly did you think would happen when I found out?" His nervous energy was shifting toward aggression. "Look, Zoya's not happy in your marriage. She hasn't been for years. Maybe instead of blaming me, you should ask yourself why your wife needed to find happiness elsewhere." I smiled. "Interesting theory. Let me ask you something else. Do your clients know about the harassment lawsuits? The two women who accused you of inappropriate conduct?" The color drained from his face. Around us, conversation stopped entirely. Those were misunderstandings. The cases were dismissed. Settled out of court with non-disclosure agreements. Different thing entirely. Makes me wonder what other misunderstandings might surface if people started asking questions. Vikram stepped closer, trying to intimidate me with his height advantage. "Are you threatening me?" "I'm sharing publicly available information, unless you consider facts threatening." He made the mistake of putting his hand on my shoulder, not aggressively, but assertively. In my peripheral vision, I noticed several people recording with their phones. I stepped back dramatically, raising my hands. "Please don't touch me, Vikram. I'm not comfortable with unwanted physical contact, especially from someone with your history." The implication was clear to everyone watching. Vikram realized his mistake immediately, but the damage was done. He'd put his hands on someone in front of witnesses, right after being confronted about harassment allegations. "That's not what I wasn't," he stammered. "I think we're done here," I said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Good luck with your business." I left him standing there, surrounded by staring clients and staff. By evening, 3 different videos of our confrontation had been posted to local social media groups. The comments were universally negative toward Vikram. Paul called that night, laughing. "You beautiful manipulative genius. That man just lost half his client base." I simply shared factual information in a public setting, while baiting him into looking aggressive on camera. Classic. He made his own choices. I just provided context. Wednesday brought Zoya's retaliation. I discovered this when my boss, Amanda Chen, called me into her office with a concerned expression. "Wilder, I received a disturbing phone call yesterday. Someone claiming to be a concerned friend said you've been going through a difficult divorce and might be having emotional problems. They suggested your work performance could be affected." "What exactly did this person say?" "That you've been acting erratically, possibly drinking, and might pose a security risk given your access to sensitive systems. They recommended a wellness check and possible leave of absence." I pulled out my phone and showed Amanda the video evidence, the court documents, and recordings of Zoya's threats. "This is a coordinated harassment campaign by my estranged wife. She's trying to damage my reputation and employment as leverage in our divorce." Amanda reviewed everything carefully. "This is clearly retaliatory. I'll document the call and flag any future contact as harassment. Your work performance has been exemplary, and you've shown no signs of the problems this person described. I appreciate your support. I expect more of these calls as the divorce proceeds. We'll handle them appropriately. Focus on your case, and let me know if you need time off for court appearances." That evening, I decided to escalate my own campaign. Paul had provided me with detailed information about Tasha's affairs and questionable business practices. It was time to fracture Zoya's support system. I created an anonymous email account and sent a carefully crafted message to Dave Kellerman's wife, Linda. The email included photos of Dave and Tasha together, along with credit card records showing expensive dinners and hotel charges. I didn't accuse or threaten. I simply provided information and suggested she might want to ask questions. Linda Kellerman confronted her husband that same night. By Thursday morning, Dave had confessed to the affair and begged for forgiveness. By Thursday afternoon, Linda had called Tasha directly. I know this because Paul had been monitoring Tasha's communications. Her panicked text to Zoya read, "Linda Kellerman knows about Dave. Someone sent her photos and receipts. This is getting out of hand." Zoya's response was predictable. "It has to be Wilder. He's trying to destroy everyone around me." Friday brought the next phase of my plan. I discovered that Zoya was hosting an open house that weekend for a luxury property, a $2.3 million lakefront home that represented a significant commission opportunity. The listing had been featured in local magazines and social media. I spent Friday evening creating anonymous social media accounts and posting carefully worded comments on the property's promotional posts. Nothing libelous or false, just questions about the agent's reliability and professionalism. "Heard there are some ethics concerns with this agent. Anyone else have experience with her? Buyer beware. Do your research on who you're working with. Beautiful house, questionable representation. Might want to work directly with the sellers." The comments appeared on Facebook, Instagram, and real estate forums. Each one prompted responses and speculation. By Saturday morning, Zoya's open house was generating negative buzz instead of buyer interest. Paul called me Saturday afternoon with an update. 3 people showed up to her open house. 3. For a $2.3 million property that should have drawn dozens of potential buyers. Social media can be so unpredictable. You're diabolical. I love it. Saturday evening brought unexpected news. Mira called from Zoya's apartment, crying. "Dad, Mom is really upset. She's been yelling at Tasha and drinking wine and saying terrible things about you. She called you names I can't repeat." "Where are you right now?" "In the guest bedroom with the door locked. They're fighting in the living room and I don't want to listen anymore. Do you want me to pick you up?" "Mom said I'm not allowed to see you until the court hearing, but I don't want to stay here tonight." I was already grabbing my keys. Text me the address. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Zoya's apartment was in an upscale complex near the lake. I could hear raised voices from the parking lot. When I knocked, the arguing stopped immediately. Zoya opened the door with disheveled hair and wine-stained clothes. You can't be here. The court order says I can't contact you directly. It doesn't say I can't pick up my daughter when she calls me crying. She's fine. She's just being dramatic. Mira appeared behind her mother, still in tears. I want to go with Dad. You're staying here tonight. We'll discuss this in the morning. I looked directly at Mira. Sweetheart, do you feel safe staying here tonight? Don't answer that, Zoya snapped. He's trying to manipulate you. I feel safer with you, Mira said quietly. Zoya's face flushed with anger. You can't just take her. I have rights. You have joint custody, same as me. Mira is old enough to express a preference, and she's clearly distressed. Unless you want to call the police and explain why your daughter is crying and asking to leave. Tasha appeared in the doorway, looking equally disheveled. Maybe it's better if she goes with her father tonight, Zoya. You need to calm down. Don't tell me how to handle my daughter. She's my daughter too, I said firmly. And right now, she needs stability, not whatever this is. Mira grabbed her overnight bag and hugged me tightly. Can we go home now? During the drive, she was quiet for several minutes before speaking. Dad, is Mom going to be okay? Your mother is going through a difficult time. Divorce is hard for everyone. She keeps saying you're trying to ruin her life. I'm trying to protect our family from more lies and manipulation. Sometimes protecting people feels like an attack to the person being protected from. That doesn't make sense. It will when you're older. Sunday morning, I made Mira her favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes with real maple syrup. She seemed more relaxed than I'd seen her in weeks. Dad, can I ask you something without you getting mad? Of course. Did you really love Mom when you married her? I considered my answer carefully. I loved the person I thought she was. Sometimes people show us who they want us to see, not who they really are. So she was pretending? I think she was trying to be the person she thought I wanted, but pretending is exhausting, and eventually people show their true selves. What if I'm like her? My heart broke a little. Mira, you're 16 years old. You're still figuring out who you are. The fact that you're asking these questions tells me you're going to be just fine. She smiled for the first time in days. I miss talking to you like this. I missed it too, sweetheart. That afternoon, Paul arrived with Chinese food and a laptop full of new intelligence. Tasha's world is falling apart, he reported. Dave Kellerman filed for divorce yesterday. His wife hired a forensic accountant to trace all his expenditures. Tasha's affair is about to become very expensive. What about her real estate business? 3 clients have terminated their contracts this week. Word is spreading about her ethics violations and personal drama. Zoya's reputation is collateral damage. And Vikram? Paul grinned. Elevation Gym lost 17 members since Tuesday. Several corporate clients canceled their group training contracts. He's hemorrhaging money. Consequences have a way of finding people. Speaking of consequences, I have something interesting about Zoya's finances. She's been moving money around, trying to hide assets before the divorce settlement. What kind of money? Real estate commissions, mostly. She's been depositing checks into accounts under her maiden name. Probably thinks you don't know about them. I smiled. I know about every account she's ever opened. Remember, I set up all our banking and financial management. So, what's your next move? Time to remind everyone that actions have consequences, and that some people are much better at this game than others. Monday morning brought a call from Gerald with news about the mediation session. Zoya's attorney wants to discuss settlement terms. They're proposing a 60-40 custody split in her favor, with you paying spousal support and child support. What's their justification for 60-40? They claim Mira has expressed a preference for living primarily with her mother. That's interesting, considering Mira called me crying Saturday night and asked me to pick her up from Zoya's apartment. Can you document that? Phone records, text messages, and witness testimony from the neighbors who saw me pick her up. Also, Tasha was present and heard the entire conversation. Gerald chuckled. Their negotiating position gets weaker every day. What do you want to counter with? 70-30 in my favor, no spousal support, and Zoya pays child support when Mira is with me. Plus, I want a clause requiring both parents to maintain stable housing and employment. That's aggressive. So was sleeping with her ex-boyfriend in my bed and coaching my daughter to reject me. Fair point. I'll draft the counter-proposal. That evening, I implemented the next phase of my plan. I'd been monitoring Zoya's social media activity and noticed she'd been posting inspirational quotes about overcoming adversity and staying strong through difficult times. Classic victim narrative. I created a detailed timeline of our marriage, complete with photos, dates, and documentation. Every vacation we'd taken, every anniversary celebration, every family milestone. Then I posted it to my own social media with a simple caption, 15 years of marriage, some memories are worth preserving. The post gained immediate attention from friends and family who'd been following our divorce drama. The comments were overwhelmingly supportive, with many people sharing their own positive memories of our family. More importantly, the post established a narrative of me as a devoted husband and father who'd been blindsided by betrayal. It countered Zoya's attempts to portray me as controlling or unstable. Zoya responded within hours, posting her own timeline focused on personal growth and finding authentic happiness. But her post came across as defensive and self-serving compared to my nostalgic tribute to our family history. The contrast was exactly what I'd intended. Tuesday brought my confrontation with Oleg, Zoya's hot-headed brother. He'd been sending increasingly aggressive text messages since the divorce filing, and I'd been saving everyone for potential restraining order proceedings. He cornered me in the parking lot outside my office building, clearly intending to intimidate me into dropping the divorce. "You think you're so smart, humiliating my sister like this," he said, blocking my path to my car. I didn't humiliate anyone. I documented adultery and filed appropriate legal papers. She made one mistake. You're destroying her entire life over one mistake. Months of systematic deception and parental alienation isn't one mistake, Oleg. It's a pattern of betrayal. You always thought you were better than our family, looking down on us with your college education and computer job. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Are you threatening me, Oleg? I'm telling you to drop this divorce and work things out with Zoya. And if I don't? His face darkened. Then you'll find out what happens to people who hurt my family. Interesting. I'll be sure to share this conversation with my attorney and the police. He realized I was recording and knocked the phone from my hand. Big mistake. Security cameras covered the entire parking lot, and several co-workers witnessed the incident. I retrieved my phone calmly. Thank you for the additional evidence. Assault and destruction of property will look great in court. Oleg stormed off, but the damage was done. I had video evidence of him threatening me and destroying my property. More importantly, I had witnesses who could testify about his aggressive behavior. That evening, I filed a police report and requested a restraining order against Oleg. The order was granted the next morning, adding another layer of legal protection and painting Zoya's family as unstable and potentially dangerous. Wednesday brought the mediation session. Zoya arrived with Patricia and a hostile attitude. She'd clearly been coached to appear reasonable while making unrealistic demands. I think we can reach an amicable agreement, Patricia began. My client is willing to consider joint custody with a 60-40 residential split. She's also prepared to discuss financial arrangements that work for both parties. Gerald presented our counter-proposal without emotion. 70-30 residential custody in favor of Mr. Sornel, no spousal support, child support paid by Mrs. Sornel during her parenting time, and mandatory stability clauses for housing and employment. Zoya exploded. That's ridiculous. I'm not paying him anything. He makes more money than I do. Actually, Gerald said, consulting his notes, Mrs. Sornel's real estate income has exceeded Mr. Sornel's salary for the past 3 years. She's also been hiding assets in accounts under her maiden name. Patricia looked shocked. What accounts? Gerald slid a folder across the table. Complete financial disclosure, including the accounts Mrs. Sornel failed to report in her initial filings. We have documentation of every deposit and withdrawal. Zoya's face went pale. She'd assumed her hidden accounts were actually hidden. This is a violation of court orders, Patricia said grimly. You were required to disclose all assets. I forgot about those accounts, Zoya stammered. You forgot about $47,000 in unreported income, Gerald asked. Interesting memory problem. The mediation session ended with no agreement. Patricia requested time to review the financial documents and consult with her client about revised expectations. Outside the mediator's office, Zoya confronted me directly for the first time since the divorce filing. You're destroying everything we built together, she said. You destroyed it when you brought another man into our bed and turned our daughter against me. I never turned Mira against you. She formed her own opinions. After months of Vikram playing substitute father while I was working to support our family, you coached her, Zoya. You manipulated a child to serve your selfish needs. Vikram makes her happy. He listens to her and treats her like an adult. He's not her father, I am, and you had no right to let another man fill that role without even discussing it with me. Tears started forming in her eyes, but I'd learned not to trust Zoya's emotions. I was lonely, Wilder. You work all the time, and when you're home, you're distracted or tired. I needed someone who made me feel special. So you chose to have an affair instead of talking to me about problems in our marriage. You chose to involve our daughter in your deception. You chose to lie for months instead of asking for counseling or separation. Those were your choices, not mine. I know I made mistakes, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling and work things out. You didn't make mistakes, Zoya. You made calculated decisions over an extended period. The only reason you want to work things out now is because the consequences are more severe than you expected. She walked away without responding, but I could see the wheels turning in her head. Zoya was realizing that her victim narrative wasn't working, and her hidden assets had been exposed. She was running out of leverage. That night, Mira asked me about the mediation session. Mom says you're being unreasonable about custody. She says you want to take me away from her. I want you to live primarily with the parent who hasn't been lying to you for months, the parent who hasn't been coaching you to reject the other parent. But what if I want to live with Mom? Then you can express that preference to the court, and they'll consider it along with all the other evidence. But I want you to think carefully about why you might want that, and whether those reasons are based on truth or manipulation. She was quiet for a long moment. Dad, did Mom really coach me to say those things about Vikram? What do you think? I remember her asking me questions about how I felt about you and him. Leading questions, I guess, like she wanted me to say specific things. And how does that make you feel? Used. Like she cared more about winning than about what was best for me. That's a very mature observation. I don't want to choose between you and Mom. It's not fair. You're right, it's not fair. Your mother and I should have protected you from having to make that choice. I'm sorry we failed you in that way. Are you going to forgive her? I considered my answer carefully. Forgiveness is complicated, Mira. I might eventually forgive your mother for hurting me, but I'll never forgive her for using you as a weapon against me. That crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. So you'll never get back together? No, sweetheart. Some things can't be fixed, only survived. Thursday brought news that Vikram's gym was closing. Paul delivered the update with obvious satisfaction. He lost too many clients and couldn't make rent. The landlord is evicting him at the end of the month. What's he going to do? Word is he's moving back to Chicago, where his family lives. Apparently, his reputation here is beyond repair. Interesting timing. Gets better. Zoya had been planning to move in with him after the divorce. Now she's scrambling to find her own place. And Tasha. Her real estate license is under review by the state board. 3 more clients have filed complaints about her conduct. She might lose her license entirely. I felt a grim satisfaction. Consequences were catching up with everyone who'd participated in betraying my family. Friday afternoon brought a call from Mira's school counselor, Mrs. Patterson. Mr. Sornel, I wanted to discuss some concerns about Mira's recent behavior. She's been having difficulty concentrating in class, and her grades are slipping. What kind of difficulty? She seems distracted and emotional. Yesterday, she broke down crying during English class when they were discussing a story about family conflict. She's dealing with our divorce. It's been very stressful for her. I understand. I wanted to ask if she might benefit from counseling. We have excellent resources for students dealing with family transitions. I think that's a great idea. Can you recommend someone? Mrs. Patterson gave me contact information for Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a family therapist who specialized in helping children navigate divorce. I scheduled an appointment for the following week. That evening, I discussed counseling with Mira over dinner. I don't need therapy, she said immediately. I'm fine. You're dealing with a very difficult situation. Talking to someone neutral might help you process your feelings. You just want her to take your side. I want you to have someone who's completely on your side, not mine or your mother's. Someone whose only concern is your well-being. She considered this. Would I have to talk about the video? You'd talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's your time and your space. Okay, I guess I could try it. Saturday brought my first direct encounter with Zoya's parents since the divorce filing. Elena and Boris appeared at my door unannounced, clearly intending an intervention. We need to talk, Boris said without preamble. I invited them in and offered coffee, maintaining politeness despite their obvious hostility. Wilder, this divorce is tearing the family apart, Elena began. Mira is suffering, Zoya is devastated, and you're being cruel. I'm being legally appropriate. Zoya chose to commit adultery and involve our daughter in her deception. I'm responding through proper channels. But the public humiliation, Boris said. Sending that video to family, exposing her mistakes to everyone, that's vindictive. The video was evidence of adultery and parental alienation. I shared it with family members who deserved to know the truth about why their family was dissolving. You could have handled this privately. Zoya forfeited privacy when she involved our daughter and launched a smear campaign against me. She called my employer, spread rumors to neighbors, and had her brother threaten me. Nothing about her approach has been private. Elena's expression softened slightly. We didn't know about Oleg's behavior. That was wrong. A lot of things have been wrong, Elena. But I didn't start this war. I'm just refusing to surrender. What do you want from her? Boris asked. What would it take to end this conflict? Full custody of Mira, no spousal support, and acknowledgement of her adultery and parental alienation. Plus, I want her to stay away from me permanently, except for necessary co-parenting communication. That's everything. You're asking for everything. I'm asking for appropriate consequences for her choices. She betrayed our marriage, manipulated our daughter, and tried to destroy my reputation. Those actions should have costs. Boris stood up angrily. You're not the man we thought you were. You're right. I'm not the man who would quietly accept betrayal and manipulation. Zoya discovered that too late. After they left, I called Gerald to report the conversation. They're testing your resolve, he said, seeing if you might be willing to negotiate down from your position. My position is based on protecting Mira and ensuring appropriate consequences. Neither of those things is negotiable. Good, because I have news about Zoya's hidden assets. She's been moving money again, trying to put it beyond reach of divorce proceedings. That's illegal. Very illegal. I'm filing a motion for contempt of court and requesting sanctions. This could result in her losing significant leverage in the final settlement. Sunday evening, I received an unexpected call from Vikram. "We need to talk," he said without introduction. "I don't think we have anything to discuss. I'm leaving town, moving back to Chicago. This whole situation has gotten out of hand. Consequences tend to escalate when people make poor choices. Look, I know you hate me, but I never meant for things to go this far. Zoya said you two were already separated, that the marriage was over." Interesting story. Did she also mention that we were living in the same house, sleeping in the same bed, and raising our daughter together? She said that was just for appearances, that you'd agreed to wait until after the holidays to announce the separation. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Vikram, you're either incredibly naive or deliberately obtuse. Either way, you participated in destroying a family. I'm calling to apologize and to tell you that I'm done with Zoya. Whatever she told you about our relationship, it's over. Why are you telling me this? Because she's planning something. She's been talking about getting revenge, about making you pay for humiliating her. I wanted to warn you. What kind of revenge? I don't know specifically, but she's angry and desperate, and she's not thinking clearly. Just be careful. I immediately called Paul and relayed the conversation. "Interesting development," he said. "Want me to increase surveillance on Zoya?" "Yes, and let's make sure Mira stays close to me until we know what she's planning." "Already on it. I'll have someone watching Zoya's apartment tonight." Monday morning brought the court hearing for Zoya's contempt motion. Gerald had documented her attempts to hide assets and move money beyond the reach of divorce proceedings. Judge Morrison was not pleased. "Mrs. Sornel, you were explicitly ordered to disclose all assets and refrain from moving or hiding marital property. Can you explain these transactions?" Patricia looked uncomfortable. "Your Honor, my client was simply organizing her finances during a stressful time. There was no intent to violate court orders. Moving $23,000 to an undisclosed account 3 days after being ordered to freeze assets suggests clear intent, Counselor. Gerald presented bank records, transaction logs, and email evidence showing Zoya had researched methods for hiding assets during divorce proceedings. This is a pattern of deliberate deception," he argued. "Mrs. Sornel has consistently attempted to circumvent court orders and conceal information from these proceedings." Judge Morrison imposed sanctions: a $5,000 fine, return of all hidden assets to joint accounts, and a warning that further violations would result in contempt charges. Outside the courthouse, Zoya was furious. "You're destroying my life over one mistake," she screamed at me. "You made dozens of mistakes, Zoya. Adultery, manipulation, lying to the court, hiding assets, parental alienation. Each one was a choice." "I hate you," she said with genuine venom. "I know. That's what makes this so satisfying." She stormed off, but I noticed her hands shaking. The pressure was getting to her, and desperate people make dangerous decisions. That afternoon, I picked up Mira from her first therapy session with Dr. Mitchell. "How did it go?" I asked. "Better than I expected. She didn't take sides or try to make me choose between you and Mom." "What did you talk about?" "Feelings, mostly. How confused and angry I've been. How I felt used by both of you. Both of us. You too, Dad, when you showed me that video evidence and asked me leading questions about Mom's behavior. That felt manipulative, too." I considered her words carefully. "You're right. I should have protected you from the adult details of our divorce. I'm sorry for putting you in that position. Dr. Mitchell says I need to focus on my own feelings instead of trying to manage yours and Mom's." "That's very good advice. She also says I don't have to choose sides or feel responsible for fixing your relationship. She's absolutely right." That evening, Paul called with disturbing news. "Zoya met with 3 different men today. All of them have criminal records. One specializes in surveillance and harassment, another in property damage. She's hiring criminals? Looks like it. I couldn't get close enough to hear conversations, but money changed hands. What kind of criminals are we talking about? Small-time stuff mostly. Vandalism, intimidation, breaking and entering. Nothing violent, but definitely illegal. I felt a chill. Zoya was escalating beyond legal warfare into actual criminal activity. What do you recommend? Increase your security immediately. Install additional cameras, vary your routines, and consider staying somewhere else for a few days. I'm not running from my own wife. Your ex-wife who just hired criminals to harass you. This isn't about pride anymore, Wilder. This is about safety. That night, I upgraded my home security system and installed additional cameras covering every angle of my property. I also moved Mira to her friend's house for the week, claiming I needed to travel for work. If Zoya wanted to escalate to criminal activity, I'd be ready for her. Tuesday morning, I discovered the first evidence of Zoya's criminal campaign. Someone had keyed my car overnight, carving deep scratches along both sides. The security cameras caught a figure in dark clothing and a baseball cap, but the face wasn't visible. I documented everything and filed a police report, though I didn't expect much action. Property vandalism cases rarely receive priority unless there's clear evidence of the perpetrator. Paul arrived within an hour to review the footage. Professional job, he observed. They knew where your cameras were and stayed out of direct sight lines. This wasn't random vandalism. How do we prove Zoya hired them? We don't yet, but we document everything and wait for them to make mistakes. Criminals always make mistakes. Wednesday brought the next escalation. I returned from work to find my front door slightly ajar. Nothing appeared to be missing, but someone had clearly been inside my house. The security system showed the intruder had disabled the alarm using the master code, information only Zoya possessed. They'd spent 20 minutes inside, apparently searching for something specific. I called the police immediately and requested a detective. Officer Martinez arrived within 30 minutes and conducted a thorough investigation. No signs of forced entry, she noted. Whoever did this had legitimate access or sophisticated lockpicking skills. My estranged wife has the alarm codes. We're in the middle of a contentious divorce. Any evidence she was involved? I showed her the security footage and explained the timeline of our divorce proceedings. I'll file a report, but without clear evidence of who entered or what was taken, there's limited action we can take. After she left, I called Gerald with an update. This is escalating beyond divorce proceedings, he said grimly. We need to document everything and consider requesting additional court protection. What kind of protection? Expanded restraining orders, supervised visitation only, and possibly contempt charges if we can prove she's behind these incidents. That evening, I changed all my locks and alarm codes. I also installed motion sensors throughout the house and upgraded to a professional monitoring service. Thursday brought a call from Mira's school. Someone had attempted to pick her up during lunch, claiming to be a family friend authorized by her mother. We followed protocol and refused to release her, Principal Johnson explained. But the incident was concerning enough that we wanted to notify you immediately. Can you describe this person? Male, approximately 40 years old, well-dressed, claimed his name was Dave. He had no identification and wasn't on our authorized pickup list. I felt my stomach drop. Zoya was now targeting our daughter directly. I'm coming to pick up Mira immediately. Please don't release her to anyone except me until further notice. Already done. We've flagged her file for additional security measures. I arrived at the school within 15 minutes and found Mira in the principal's office, looking shaken but unharmed. Dad, who was that man? Why did he want to take me? I don't know yet, sweetheart, but you did exactly the right thing by staying with school officials. During the drive home, I called Paul and relayed the incident. She's escalating to kidnapping attempts, he said. This has moved beyond harassment into serious criminal territory. What do we do? Emergency court hearing. Today. Gerald needs to file for immediate custody modification and expanded protection orders. Gerald agreed to expedite the filing. By 4 p.m., we were in Judge Morrison's chambers with Patricia and Zoya. "Your Honor, someone attempted to abduct my daughter from school today," I began. "This follows a pattern of escalating harassment, including property damage and breaking into my home." Patricia objected immediately. "There's no evidence my client was involved in any of these alleged incidents." Gerald presented the timeline: vandalism, break-in, and attempted school pickup, all following Zoya's court sanctions and threats of revenge. "Mrs. Sornel," Judge Morrison said sternly, "do you know anything about these incidents?" "Absolutely not. I would never put my daughter at risk." "Can you account for your whereabouts during each of these events?" Zoya's hesitation was telling. I'd have to check my calendar." "Your Honor," Gerald interjected, "we request immediate modification of custody arrangements. Mr. Sornel should have temporary full custody until these security concerns are resolved." Judge Morrison agreed. "Effective immediately, Mrs. Sornel's visitation is suspended pending investigation of these incidents. Mr. Sornel will have temporary full custody of the minor child." Zoya's face went white. "You can't take my daughter away based on accusations." "I can and I am. Your visitation will resume only under supervised conditions until these matters are resolved." Outside the courthouse, Zoya confronted me with pure rage. "You orchestrated this whole thing. You probably hired someone to vandalize your own car and break into your house." "That's an interesting theory. Are you planning to share it with the police?" "You won't get away with this. I'll prove you're lying about everything." "Good luck with that." She stormed off, but I could see the desperation in her eyes. She'd overplayed her hand and lost access to the one thing she cared about most, her ability to manipulate Mira. That evening, I had a difficult conversation with my daughter about the day's events. "Mom called me crying," she said. "She says you're lying about her to take me away." "What do you think?" "I think someone tried to take me from school today, and it wasn't you. I think someone broke into our house, and it wasn't you. I think Mom is involved somehow." "Why do you think that?" "Because she's been getting more and more angry and desperate, and because she asked me weird questions last week about my school schedule and who's allowed to pick me up." I felt a mix of pride and sadness. Pride that Mira was thinking clearly despite the emotional manipulation she'd endured. Sadness that she'd been forced to develop such analytical skills about her own mother's behavior. "I'm sorry you're having to deal with this, sweetheart. It's not your fault, Dad. Mom made her own choices." Friday brought news that Vikram had indeed left town. Paul confirmed he'd driven to Chicago with a moving truck Thursday morning. "Interesting timing," I observed. "Right after the attempted school pickup." "Very interesting. I'm thinking he was the man who tried to collect Mira." "Can we prove it?" "Working on it. I have contacts at the school who might be able to identify him from photos." Saturday morning, I received an unexpected call from Tasha. "We need to meet," she said without preamble. "I don't think that's appropriate." "It's about Zoya. She's planning something dangerous, and I think you should know about it." We agreed to meet at a coffee shop downtown. Tasha looked haggard and nervous, clearly under enormous stress. "My life is falling apart because of this divorce," she began. "Dave left me, my license is under review, and I've lost most of my clients. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm not responsible for your choices. I know. That's why I'm here. Zoya has been asking me to help her with increasingly crazy schemes. First it was just spreading rumors about you, then it was hiding money and assets. Now she wants me to help her disappear with Mira." My stomach clenched. "Disappear how?" "She's talking about taking Mira out of state, maybe out of the country. She says you've poisoned the courts against her and she'll never get fair treatment here." "That would be kidnapping." "I know. That's why I'm telling you. I've made mistakes, but I'm not going to help someone kidnap a child. What exactly is she planning? She wants me to create fake real estate documents showing a property purchase in Canada, something she can use to justify traveling there with Mira. She's also been researching schools in Vancouver. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Would you be willing to repeat that statement to police? Tasha hesitated, then nodded. Yes, I'm done protecting Zoya from the consequences of her actions. We drove directly to the police station, where Tasha gave a formal statement about Zoya's kidnapping plans. The detective assigned to the case took detailed notes and assured us they would investigate immediately. Sunday morning brought the climax I'd been anticipating. Paul called at 6 a.m. with urgent news. Zoya's on the move. She left her apartment an hour ago with 2 suitcases and drove toward the airport. Is Mira with her? No, but she might be planning to collect her from your house. I checked Mira's room immediately. She was still asleep, safe in her bed. What's the plan? I asked Paul. Police are already en route to the airport. They'll intercept her before she can board any flights. But you should be prepared for her to try something desperate when she realizes she's trapped. I woke Mira and explained the situation as calmly as possible. Mom was planning to take you out of the country without permission. The police are stopping her now. Mira's face crumpled. She really was going to kidnap me? It looks that way. I can't believe she would do that. I mean, I know she's been acting crazy, but kidnapping? Desperate people make dangerous decisions. An hour later, Paul called with an update. They arrested her at the airport. She had tickets to Vancouver and forged documents claiming you'd given permission for Mira to travel. Forged documents. Fake custody modification and travel authorization. Pretty sophisticated forgeries, actually. What happens now? She'll be charged with attempted kidnapping, document forgery, and violation of court orders. This is serious criminal territory now. Monday morning brought a call from Gerald with the legal implications. Zoya's arrest changes everything, he explained. The criminal charges will likely result in her losing any chance at significant custody or visitation rights. What about the divorce settlement? Her criminal behavior strengthens our position enormously. We can argue that she's demonstrated a pattern of deception, manipulation, and disregard for legal authority. So we get everything we asked for? Probably more. The court will want to protect Mira from further exposure to her mother's instability. That afternoon, I had another session with Dr. Mitchell to discuss how to help Mira process her mother's arrest. She's handling it better than I expected, the therapist reported. Mira is remarkably resilient, and she's been preparing emotionally for something like this. Preparing how? She's been gradually accepting that her mother has serious problems and isn't capable of putting Mira's needs first. The arrest was shocking, but not entirely surprising to her. What should I do to support her? Continue being honest about the situation while reassuring her that she's safe and loved. Don't try to shield her from age-appropriate information, but don't burden her with adult details either. Tuesday brought the preliminary hearing for Zoya's criminal charges. She appeared in orange jail clothing, looking defeated and exhausted. The prosecutor outlined the charges: attempted kidnapping, document forgery, violation of court orders, and conspiracy to commit kidnapping. Mrs. Sornel purchased airline tickets to Vancouver, created forged travel documents, and made detailed plans to remove the minor child from the jurisdiction without permission from the court or the child's father. Zoya's public defender requested bail, but the prosecutor argued she was a flight risk. The defendant has already demonstrated her willingness to flee the jurisdiction with the child. She has hidden assets, violated multiple court orders, and shown a pattern of escalating criminal behavior. Judge Morrison denied bail. Mrs. Sornel will remain in custody pending trial. I felt no satisfaction watching Zoya led away in handcuffs. This wasn't how I'd wanted our marriage to end, but it was how her choices had led us here. Wednesday brought the final divorce hearing. With Zoya in jail and facing serious criminal charges, the proceedings were largely administrative. Gerald presented our settlement proposal. Full custody to me, no spousal support, division of assets, excluding anything Zoya had attempted to hide, and supervised visitation only after completion of psychological evaluation and parenting classes. Patricia, representing Zoya's interests while she was incarcerated, could only argue for minimal modifications. Judge Morrison approved our proposal with minor adjustments. Given the criminal charges and demonstrated pattern of deception and manipulation, this settlement serves the best interests of the minor child. Just like that, 15 years of marriage were officially dissolved. Thursday afternoon, I picked up Mira from her final therapy session before we moved forward with our new life. "How are you feeling about everything?" I asked during the drive home. "Sad but relieved," she said thoughtfully. "I'm sad that Mom made such terrible choices, but I'm relieved that the fighting is over and I don't have to choose sides anymore." "You never had to choose sides, sweetheart. You were put in an impossible position by adults who should have protected you from that burden. I know that now. Dr. Mitchell helped me understand that none of this was my fault." "It absolutely wasn't your fault." "Dad, do you think Mom will ever get better?" "I hope so. But getting better would require her to acknowledge her mistakes and take responsibility for her choices. I'm not sure she's capable of that level of self-awareness." "Will I be able to see her again?" "If she completes the court-ordered programs and demonstrates that she can put your well-being first, then supervised visits might be possible. But that's entirely up to her." Friday evening, Paul came over for dinner to celebrate the end of our legal battles. "You did it," he said, raising his beer. "Complete victory on every front." "It doesn't feel like victory. It feels like survival." "Sometimes those are the same thing." "What happened to everyone else?" Paul consulted his notes. "Vikram is working at a chain gym in Chicago for minimum wage. His reputation followed him there. Tasha lost her real estate license and is working retail. Oleg got arrested for bar fighting and is doing community service. Zoya's parents have disowned her and are considering moving back to Ukraine." "And Zoya?" "Plea bargain. 2 years probation, mandatory counseling, and supervised visitation only. She'll be out of jail next month, but under strict court supervision." "What about her real estate business?" "Dissolved. Her clients fled during the criminal proceedings, and her license was revoked." I felt a grim satisfaction. Everyone who'd participated in betraying my family had faced appropriate consequences. Saturday morning, Mira and I began the process of reclaiming our home and our lives. We packed away photos and mementos from the marriage, not destroying them, but storing them, until Mira was ready to decide what she wanted to keep. "Are you going to date other people?" she asked while we worked. "Eventually, maybe, but not for a while. I need time to figure out who I am as a single father." "I think you're doing pretty well so far." "Thank you. That means everything to me." "Dad, can I ask you something personal?" "Of course. Do you regret marrying Mom?" I considered the question carefully. "I regret the way our marriage ended. I regret the pain you had to endure. But I don't regret the marriage itself, because it gave me you." She hugged me tightly. "I love you, Dad." "I love you too, sweetheart." Sunday afternoon brought an unexpected visitor. Zoya's mother, Elena, appeared at my door, looking frail and defeated. "May I speak with Mira?" she asked quietly. "That's up to Mira. Let me ask her." Mira agreed to see her grandmother, and they sat together in our living room while I gave them privacy in the kitchen. After an hour, Elena came to find me. "I wanted to apologize," she said. "We believed Zoya's version of events for too long. We should have seen what she was doing to you and to Mira. You were protecting your daughter. I understand that instinct. But we enabled her bad behavior instead of holding her accountable. Now she's lost everything, and it's partially our fault." "Zoya made her own choices, Elena. You're not responsible for them." Boris and I are moving back to Ukraine. We can't bear to stay here after everything that's happened. But we wanted to say goodbye to Mira and to tell you that we're sorry. I appreciate that, and I want you to know that Mira will always be welcome to contact you, regardless of what happened with Zoya. Elena hugged me with tears in her eyes. You're a good man, Wilder. Zoya was lucky to have you, even if she didn't appreciate it. After she left, Mira was quiet for the rest of the evening. What did you and your grandmother talk about? I asked. She apologized for not believing me when I tried to tell them about Mom's behavior. She said they were so focused on protecting Mom that they forgot to protect me. How did that make you feel? Better, I guess. Like I wasn't crazy for seeing what I was seeing. Monday morning marked our first day of normal life in months. Mira went to school without security concerns. I went to work without worrying about harassment or sabotage. We were finally free to move forward. That evening, we cooked dinner together and talked about plans for the future. I want to change schools, Mira announced. Too many people here know about the divorce drama. I want a fresh start. That's a reasonable request. We can look at options for next semester. And I want to keep seeing Dr. Mitchell for a while. She's helping me figure out how to trust people again. Absolutely. Whatever you need. Dad, do you think we're going to be okay? I looked at my daughter, intelligent, resilient, honest, despite everything she'd endured, and felt genuine optimism for the first time in months. I think we're going to be better than okay, sweetheart. I think we're going to be happy. 6 months later, I received a letter from Zoya in jail. She'd written to apologize and ask for forgiveness, claiming she'd been sick during our divorce and wanted to make amends. I read the letter once, then filed it with the rest of our legal documents. Some apologies come too late to matter. Mira had adapted well to her new school and was excelling academically. She'd made new friends who knew nothing about our family drama and accepted her for who she was, not who her mother had tried to make her. I'd started dating a colleague named Amanda. Slowly and carefully, with full transparency to Mira about my intentions and boundaries. She seems nice, Mira said after meeting Amanda for the 3rd time, and she doesn't try to replace Mom or be my new mother. I appreciate that. That's because she understands that you already have a mother, even if that relationship is complicated right now. Do you think you'll marry her? It's too early to think about marriage. But I like spending time with her and she makes me happy. Good. You deserve to be happy. On a warm spring evening, Mira and I sat on our back deck, grilling burgers and talking about her plans for college. I want to study psychology, she announced. I want to help kids who are dealing with family problems like I did. That's a wonderful goal. You'd be excellent at it. I learned a lot about people during the divorce. About manipulation and honesty and consequences. What's the most important thing you learned? She thought for a moment. That actions have consequences, and you can't escape them by lying or making excuses. Mom tried to avoid consequences for months, but they caught up with her eventually. That's very wise. Also, that some people will always choose themselves over the people they claim to love. But other people will sacrifice everything to protect the people they care about. Which kind of person do you want to be? The second kind. Always. As the sun set over our neighborhood, I reflected on the journey that had brought us here. The birthday video that started everything seemed like a lifetime ago. The pain and anger and betrayal had faded into background noise. What remained was this: a father and daughter who'd survived a war and emerged stronger, wiser, and more honest with each other than ever before. Zoya had tried to destroy our family to serve her selfish needs. Instead, she'd inadvertently created something better, a relationship built on truth, trust, and mutual respect. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well. Dad, Mira said as we cleaned up from dinner, I'm proud of how you handled everything. You could have been vindictive or cruel, but you just focused on protecting us and seeking appropriate justice. Thank you, sweetheart. That means more to me than you know. I hope I'm as strong as you if I ever face something like that. You're already stronger than I was at your age. You're going to be just fine. That night, as I locked up our house and set the security system, I felt genuine peace for the first time since receiving that birthday video. The war was over. We'd won. And more importantly, we'd won the right way. Through truth, persistence, and refusing to compromise our values even when others abandon theirs. Some stories end with dramatic confrontations or explosive revelations. This one ended with something better. A quiet evening at home with my daughter, planning a future built on honesty and mutual respect. Zoya had given me an unexpected gift with her betrayal. She'd forced me to discover reserves of strength and determination I didn't know I possessed. She'd shown me what real love looks like, not the possessive, manipulative emotion she'd called love, but the selfless commitment to another person's well-being that I felt for Mira. Most importantly, she'd taught my daughter to recognize the difference between authentic relationships and toxic manipulation. That lesson would serve Mira well for the rest of her life. As I turned off the lights and headed upstairs, my phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. "Hope you had a good evening with Mira. Looking forward to seeing you both this weekend." I smiled and replied, "We did. See you Saturday." Life was good. Not perfect, not without challenges, but good in all the ways that mattered. And that, I realized, was the best possible ending to this story. The birthday video that was meant to destroy my life had instead freed me from a toxic relationship and strengthened my bond with the person who mattered most. Zoya's attempt at psychological warfare had backfired completely, leaving her isolated and imprisoned while Mira and I built something better from the ashes of our old life. Sometimes justice doesn't require elaborate schemes or dramatic confrontations. Sometimes it's simply the natural consequence of people's choices catching up with them, while those who choose integrity and honesty find their way to something better. As I drifted off to sleep that night, I thought about the man I'd been a year ago, naive, trusting, unaware of the deception happening in his own home. That man was gone, replaced by someone harder but wiser, someone who understood that protecting the people you love sometimes requires fighting battles you never wanted to fight. I'd won this war not through cruelty or vengeance, but through persistence, preparation, and an unwavering commitment to truth. That victory felt clean in a way that dirty tactics never could have. And in the morning, I'd wake up to another day of the life I'd fought so hard to protect. A life with my daughter, free from lies and manipulation, built on the solid foundation of mutual respect and authentic love. That was worth every moment of the battle we'd endured to get here.